Hello loves, hello, hello. It's Hills here from the Blue Flame Apothecary. We are kind of right in the middle of one of the most potent weeks of the entire year of 2023. As I'm recording this, it is the afternoon of the 22nd of March here on the Pacific coast of the United States. Monday and Tuesday, we had the equinox and the new moon, the Aries new moon, the first of two that we're having this year. Tomorrow, Pluto shifts into Aquarius for the first time in over 200 years. Friday, Mars shifts into Cancer after a 7-month-long journey through Gemini. I've been calling this particular week a portal of infinite creative potential. Infinite creative potential. That's pretty big, right? Yesterday I facilitated the new moon circle in the members portal, and I talked a lot about one of the energies that I'm really feeling right now. You see, the Aries new moon, as I alluded to, is happening twice this year. Aries is new beginnings. It's the start of the astrological new year. It's the Persian new year. It's the Vedic new year. It's the first day of spring or the first day of fall, depending on where you are. This year, like it's always a very strong birthing, bringing the new in. This year that is amplified and magnified because we have the equinox immediately followed by an Aries new moon. So you have this equinox bringing in that balance point and creative potential. Then you have the new moon helping you get to the balance point, to the void, and birth once again. And there's this movie that Rodney Dangerfield did in the late 80s called Back to School, and he has this dive called the Triple Lindy, which is like this impossible dive, but it's 3 hops before the dive into the water, and that's kind of what this energy feels like. But like I said, this is the first Aries new moon that we just had. The second Aries new moon is happening in April, and it's the first eclipse of 2023. It's a total solar eclipse, and it will be visible in most of Australia and some of Indonesia and South America and Antarctica. It's really interesting though. It's a blue moon. We have yesterday's Aries new moon at the 0 point, 0 degrees of Aries. This one brings us into 29 degrees of Aries. So we flow through the entire sign of Aries, through all of the fiery, creative, like stoking the flames energy and that like renewal, new growth energy. And just as that's happening, just as we launch into that energy, Pluto shifts into Aquarius. And that's really what I wanted to talk about today. We're going to go into it in a little bit of a weird way. So, because it's about Pluto's dance with the nodes, the lunar nodes, and what it is helping us to explore. So the lunar nodes are like a hypothetical point is what they're called. It's a mathematical point, and they indicate the place where the farthest distance between the moon and the earth and the closest distance. When we talk about the north and the south node, we're talking about these two places in the moon's orbit around the planet. And we often refer to this line as the destiny line or the soul path line, where our lunar nodes are. Where our lunar nodes are. Love when those happen. Show us where we've been, where we've come from. In the case of the southern node, the direction of south indicates that which you have already experienced. In shamanic tradition, it's where you're coming from. And the direction north is where you're headed. It's the journey of your soul. And so depending on where your nodes are, it can help to indicate where the path, the place where you are lit up, where you've been and where you're going. These nodes are generally calculated with an average, so that it will stay in a sign for a whole 15 months. However, that's not really how they work. The true, the actual, as opposed to the average, nodes wobble. So if we look at the lunar nodes, it's always going backwards. If we're looking at the average, like it enters Taurus, the north node, and it continues backwards from 29 degrees of Taurus all the way to 0 degrees of Taurus until it flips over. But what actually happens is it travels through Taurus. Maybe it goes forward for a moment and then it kind of wobbles back and continues backwards. And so where these two versions of our destiny path are located can be a little bit different. And I've talked about this in my videos before. I actually was born during one of these wobbles, where if you calculate using the average, I have a north node in Sagittarius. But if you calculate with the true, I have a north node in Scorpio. And so it depends on who's doing the calculation. And sometimes if you have this wobble in your chart, you can feel like, which way do I go? For me, it feels more like we're being asked to blend these two possibilities together and unify these two possible paths into one direct course. So that brings me to this the second Aries New Moon, the total eclipse that's happening in April. Technically, if you're calculating using the average, the nodes will not switch from Taurus to Aries until July. However, this wobble occurs in April, giving us an eclipse in Aries. There cannot be an eclipse unless the nodes are involved. It is how the moon transits over the sun, or the sun appears to cast the shadow over the moon as the earth transits in between. But this is how the orbit is calculated. So if there's an eclipse, the eclipse is always happening in the sign where the lunar nodes are. I didn't realize we were going to do such a deep dive on that. So this wobble has us exploring the energy that's coming, this new energy that's building in as we move through the final North Node and Taurus energy and into the North Node and Aries energy, which will go full steam come July. Here's where it gets really interesting, as if that's not interesting enough. During this time, Pluto, as we know, tomorrow, on the 23rd, will shift into Aquarius for the first time. So over the next year and a half or so, give or take, 9 months maybe even, Pluto is going to be doing a wobble of its own. Pluto is going to be wobbling between the final degrees of Capricorn and the first 0 to 1 degrees of Aquarius. So on the 23rd, Pluto moves into Aquarius and hangs out there for a little while. Then, I think in June-ish, through a retrograde motion, dips back into Capricorn, where it stays until, I think, January, and then moving forward again, starts to go back into Aquarius. I can't remember exactly, but there might be another wobble in there before it fully goes in. I feel like it's 2024 though that Pluto lands in Aquarius, and then it's all Aquarius from there. So during this time of Pluto's wobble, Pluto is making an exact T-square to the North and South nodes. Astrology lesson over. Let's explore what this energetically has to offer us. When anything is making a T-square, I guess the astrology lesson's not over. When anything is making a T-square, for me, it often feels like we're being given an opportunity to feel in both directions. So it's like a runway to a choice point. In the case of Pluto, running up into this square with the South Node and the North Node, it feels like we are being given an opportunity to explore where we've been and where we're going, and to allow for a bit of a wobble in there, to kind of duck back into where we've been, dig around. Pluto's energy is about revealing secrets, about getting in there. It's very shadow work. It's like exploring the depths of your being. And Aquarius energy is the higher mind. It's bringing the higher self into contact and connecting with the higher self. So as Pluto is moving into Aquarius, we're finding this place where we can start to bridge that gap between the depths of our being and our higher selves. And part of the way that this is happening, like the template that's been laid out for us to journey this way, is through this T-square. Is through our ability to say, oh, okay, where have I been? Where have I been? And this is playing out as the node wobbles between, the South Node wobbles between Scorpio and Libra. Also, Scorpio's Pluto energy, it's that revealing of secrets, the occult, the underground, what's in the buried cave, what is in the depths of my being. So can we start to feel how Pluto is saying, oh yeah, let's explore this. Let's open up. Let's open up the I'm hearing veils. Let's open up the curtain to where we've been, to all of the journeying that we've done. And Libra's energy is about balance and connection. So as the South Node is shifting between Scorpio and Libra over these next couple of months until July, when it fully moves into Libra, we're being given this opportunity to explore all of the ways in which we have allowed our connections, our relationships, our there's something coming in and I want to give it space. All of the ways in which we have ignored our deepest truths in order to get along, and thereby knocked ourselves off of balance, And when we journey the South Node, and with Pluto there along for the ride, this energy is amplified that we can work with. As we journey the South Node, we can start to let our higher mind, because it's wobbling there between Capricorn and Aquarius, and over this time period, it will mostly be in Aquarius. We can let our higher self, our multidimensional self, come in and help us excavate where we've been and how we have interacted with our communities, with our expression of self out into the world. Because Libra energy is how we present ourselves to the world. And through this, we can then, Aries energy, as the North Node is shifting into Aries from Taurus, we can start to access a new way. We can birth a new way. And this really feels like, Taurus energy, the earth, the physicality, the material. We can start to be in the earth, in the world, in a new way, in a more true way. And this is also the reason I'm getting all like, ooh, and excited and chills, is because this is also like a beautiful blueprint for birthing new earth, right? The destiny line, not just of us collectively human individuals walking around on this planet, but also of the earth herself. And I shared in a video recently that the planets are not dictating to us what is happening. They are representing the energy for us. They have been, the way it feels is like a Swiss watch, right? The clockwork has been set in motion long, long, long ago. And through this clockwork, we are given visible and energetic touchstones as to the energies that are flowing for us. So we can feel this T-square that's going to be running, it's already running right now, and going all the way through as Pluto shifts into Aquarius, as the nodes shift for real, fully in July, and then as Pluto shifts back into Capricorn, and then all the way back until November of next year. So basically from eclipse season to eclipse season. So we get to go into an eclipse wormhole, begin to birth this new energy, come back into contact with our South Node again, continuing to declutter, to flow out anything. Aquarius is the water bearer, so we can envision this as our higher self as water pouring down through us into our beings, flushing our systems out. And as we're doing this, new structures are being built. As the old are falling away, because Pluto's still making that round into the end degrees of Capricorn. And we can start to build new through the falling away. One of the things that I shared in the Cosmic Light Drops, and there'll be a link below, is it can kind of feel like you're trying to build the new in the midst of an 11th magnitude earthquake. And one of the insights that has come in for me as we're navigating this is I used to work for a civil engineering firm. This is the way we're going to share this. I used to work for a civil engineering firm, and they would build in LA and in Las Vegas in particular, places where there's a lot of earthquakes. And while I was working for them, I happened to go to Las Vegas. I was on the 23rd floor of a hotel in Vegas, and an 8.0 earthquake hit in Joshua Tree, which was very, very felt in Las Vegas. And I had a friend who was driving to Vegas through Joshua Tree at that time, and he said that this is what the desert looked like. It was waving up and down like the ocean. And I was really excited because this was the first time that I had been in an earthquake and I understood how the skyscrapers were built to move, to flow with the earthquake. And I was riding it like it was a ride at an amusement park, because what they do is they put the building on rollers so that as the earthquake is happening, it kind of goes like this on these rollers. And it moves in like a circular motion. This is part of what we are being gifted an ability to learn, is how to roller skate through the earthquake, how to allow that which is not ours anymore to fall away, even as we're building things, to build a structure, start laying the foundations, and to be okay if a part of it crumbles away, because it was there as a patch. It wasn't meant for the full new way of being. This has been something I have worked with a lot over the last year, as you know, the Blue Flame Apothecary has been in its first year. We just had our birthday. Yay, happy birthday, Blue Flame Apothecary. And over the course of this year, I've had new ways of working with everyone birth up. I've had some of them fall away, and I've had to say goodbye and let that grief move through me as the new ways that I was being asked to work were flowing up and being built from the ashes, of what I allowed to fall away. This is all to say the next couple of months could get a little rocky, but we can let that be beautiful also. This is where I'm going to end. Yesterday, there was a huge windstorm here in San Francisco, and the whole house was shaking. The whole house was shaking. And I went into my room to have a meditation time. I'm doing a daily practice over this next few weeks of like a stillness meditation that I've been guided to every day. You go here and you do this. when the guidance comes that loud, I follow. That could be another piece of advice. If you hear loud guidance to start a new practice, maybe allow it to blossom. And part of this is also allowing how it needs to shift when it needs to shift. And that's part of where we're going right now. So this wind is howling outside. And I go into my room and I light my candles and I burn my special incense that's part of this particular meditation. And as I'm in the meditation, I can feel myself aware of the storm swirling around the building that I'm sitting in. Trees are getting knocked down, so there's sirens. And I'm aware, I'm cognizant of all of it. But I'm also centered in my heart. And I'm calling in the names of God and the aspects of God to dance with me in this stillness in the center of this storm. When I finished my meditation, I didn't think I had gone all that deep. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't know. It doesn't feel like I went all that deep, but I definitely went somewhere. There was something activating. There was a stillness in me. And I came out into the front of the house, and Mike was sitting there, and it startled me because he had gotten home while I was in the midst of this stillness practice, in the midst of this storm. But I never heard him come in. And so I startled. I was like, oh, you're home. And he laughed, and he's like, wait, you didn't hear me knocking around out here and screaming hello and talking to the cats? And I was like, no, I didn't hear any of that. I guess I went further in than I realized. And this story is coming in to share all of those ways which, even when we don't realize that we're in our center, we can be in our center. Aware of the storm howling all around us, but not in the storm. Aware of that which we need to be aware of in any given moment. In that moment, I didn't need to know that Mike had gotten home, so I wasn't aware. I feel like I could keep going, but it feels like that is like the natural stopping place for us. Over these next weeks, as we start to journey closer and closer to the eclipse wormhole, can you practice where you're putting your awareness? And without judgment, allow yourself to notice when it's not centered, when it's not in a place of love, of heart, and say, oh, did I really need to be aware of that thing that was happening? Maybe not. I mean, if you were aware of it, then it has a lesson for you. But you don't have to carry the baggage of whatever it might have been. You can take the lesson to heart and release anything else. And it's all practice. It's all practice. 3 years ago, I probably would not have been able to get into a stillness meditation with that storm howling outside and not realizing that Mike came home. We're building our heart. We're building our hearts. We're building our muscles. We're building our stamina through all of this. And that's part of what's happening. That's how we journey together. Each of us sharing the tools and the gifts that we have in order to help everyone else find the tools that they have. And then we get to glow and radiate love with one another as we enjoy each other's gifts and dance and weave together. Oh, I hope that you found something that was for you in this video. I hope that you have a beautiful beautiful weeks and days and hours and moments and minutes and all ways, in all the ways, in all the ways, until we chat again. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that you feel called to share, if there was something that really hit home, hit heart for you in this video. If you want to check out the members portal, there will be a link below. And I facilitated a Blu-ray starseed transmission the day before the equinox here on the YouTube. I'm going to end cap this video and I'll put a link below. If you feel that you have Blu-ray lineage, if you feel a strong connection to the Blu-ray, I highly recommend this video. It came through, it was an open channel, as all things that I do are, and it came through really beautifully, and we went pretty deep. There's some lovely practices in there as well. Okay, this is actually goodbye. I'm doing a nice little Midwest goodbye for you. With so much and many loves to you, as always and in all ways and from all the dimensions.